had to become a full-time wedding photographer. First things first, be sensible. Don't just quit your job and go all guns blazing. It could work. Let's be honest, some of my favourite films, Walk the Line, Johnny Cash, he did it. His wife's having a go at him, saying, you need a steady job, and he knew what he wanted to do, and it worked for him. So I won't say it don't work, but, well, we know how hard it is today with the bills and that. Cases in my business when I've had a lot of lows, which I'll do videos about, which hopefully will support people that are going through a tough time. Don't quit your job. Keep your full-time job. So that's my first tip. Keep your full-time job. Make sure your family are looked after. Next thing you want to do is experience. My hobby was street photography, and it still is. I love street photography. This part is very hard because I'm a documentary wedding photographer. What you want to do first is get a camera, obviously. You might have really found a love for photography by using a camera phone, which is fine, but you need at least a semi-professional camera if you're going to start treating this seriously. And this is where I went wrong. Don't do what I did here. I went on MPB and Wex. I didn't buy second-hand gear. I bought brand new, and I spent about 10 grand on, I'll go through exactly what I brought. A Nikon D750, amazing camera. A Nikon 2470 zoom, one of the top one, whatever it was called, the ED lens. You can comment in the comment section if you know the exact one. That was about 2 grand for one lens. Amazing lens, but when you're charging as little I was at the beginning, it was stupid buying all this equipment. I bought a 70 to 200, which was about 2 grand. I then bought a second body, which you do need. You always want to back up, even when you start at the beginning. If you're charging very little, you don't want to be at a wedding, your camera goes wrong, and you're asking for one of the guests to borrow their camera. It's a bit embarrassing. My advice here: don't spend loads of money on equipment. Go on MPB and Wex and get second-hand gear. It's brilliant. They're well. Most people look after their gear. I've never had any problems with buying second-hand, but give yourself a limit. I mean, I don't want to be biased towards Fujifilm, but I'm a Fujifilm shooter, and they are bloody budget friendly. My first camera before the D750, when I was just a hobby photographer, was a D350. I think it was Nikon D350. I think it was like 500 quid with the little kit lens. If you're charging, you might disagree with me, but if you're charging what I charged at the beginning, 300 to 500 quid for a wedding, because I had no experience, there is no reason why you should be using a 2-3 grand camera. 5 to 800 pound camera and lens. Get a 1 zoom lens so you're covered. 24 to 70 will do ya. You don't need any wider than that. You don't need any. You don't need a 70 to 200. 24 to 70, you're done. And that's coming from someone that only shoots prime lenses now. But I'm just on about the beginning, just to try and be as budget as you can, and not go mental with spending. So you get your equipment done. Definitely have 2 bodies, so you've got a backup, a 2470 and just another backup lens. Done. You don't need those, and then obviously you need your memory cards, your SD cards, your batteries. Get 1 flash, 1 on-camera flash. Personally, I wouldn't recommend using the pop-up flashes on cameras. You can get them so cheap. A little Godox lens off Amazon for about 50 quid, and then you can literally just put the little flash card up if you can't bounce the flash. Go on some other videos if you want to learn how to use flash photography. I've got videos on bounce flash, off-camera flash, and dragging the shutter. So go back to them. So that's your equipment done. Don't need to spend loads of money. I'd say personally, put aside £1 grand towards your equipment at the beginning. 2 bodies, 1 lens 2470, and then 1 backup lens just in case that goes wrong. Just a little prime lens, a little pancake lens you can get for 200 quid. Little 28mm, 35mm. You're done then. You don't need to worry. Start joining Facebook groups and asking photographers if you can go and help them, if you can shadow them. That's what I did. Helped massively. That photographer, then I got loads of experience from it, but that photographer was very kind to let me bring my camera along and get a few candids. I could then use them on my portfolio. I wasn't using all the couple time photos, even though he let me use them, let me take photos at that time, just for experience. I didn't want to use them, because then if someone see his photos of the couple and then me, it'd be like, it's the same couple, right? So just show the candids, and the bride and groom can be in the background, he doesn't need to see their, you don't need to see their faces, but you can see it's a wedding. Start using them images on a Facebook business page that you set up. You don't need to have a website when you're at that early stage. I did have a website, so I'm saying don't do what I did at the beginning, because all of my clients came through Facebook. 95% of them came through Facebook. Facebook budget brides. Facebook is for budget brides. They go on Facebook because they want budget. They want cheap photographers. That's no offence to you if you're watching this. I was a cheap photographer 6 years ago. I'm no longer a cheap photographer because of the things I'm about to tell you what I did. So no harm in being a cheap photographer at the beginning. We've all got to start somewhere. Doesn't mean you're crap. It just means you've got no experience at weddings, which is absolutely fine. Got your equipment. Start off cheap. 300 to 500 quid I was charging for my first 5 weddings I did, and then after 5-6 weddings I did, I went up to 650 quid. 3-4 weddings after that, I had 12 weddings under my belt, I went up to 800 quid, so on. The industry might have changed a bit now from 5-6 years ago when I did that. Offer a competition, I did that as well at the beginning, which I should have mentioned before I said about pricing. I did a competition at the beginning, and said, I was literally honest in his Facebook groups and said, got no experience. These photos are literally from me shadowing another photographer. If you enter my competition, like and share my page, so I got my followers up, got it shared around on social media, and then I picked out a winner, and that winner got like a family shoot, and I went and done that for an hour of my time. You're going to do that at the beginning. You're going to be, it's hard at the beginning, I was working a full-time job and in shooting weddings on the side. Like my first part-time year, I'd done 15 weddings and working a full-time job, and I was stressed out. I even outsourced my editing to a company. You could do that, but it just cost money again. I can't remember the exact figure. It was an American company. I'll let you decide on that one. I did do it, but it's just more money coming out your back pocket. I would personally, maybe if you've got a full-time job, maybe cap yourself off at like 8 weddings in your first year doing part-time, so you've got plenty of time to edit and spend time with your family. Then you don't want to stress yourself out. Then after 2019 was my first full-time year. I shot 30 weddings that year, and I was charging $1,000 to 1,200 quid, which it ain't a lot still. I think the minimum rate at the time was 1,500 quid. It worked for me. It got me to where I needed to be. I got loads of weddings under my belt. It all depends on your circumstances. I was privileged enough, I suppose. Quit my job when I had enough weddings, but other people might only be able to quit their full-time job when they're charging 1,500 quid a wedding. I managed to do it when I was at $1,000 a wedding. So it all depends on that bit. I can't really say what to do. That it all depends on the person that's watching this video, what your circumstances are in life. No one knows what goes on behind closed doors. No one needs to know. That's for you and your family to think about and what you want to do with your life. So yeah, that bit I'll leave to you, how you want to do it. So yeah, and then after that, COVID hit. Lovely. After 1 year full time, COVID hit me right in the bollocks. And I lost all my work that year. I was doing delivery driving for Tesco's, sitting myself. Weddings are never going to come back. I really thought at one point they were never going to be the same again. The fear-mongering from mainstream media. Like, I remember reading articles, wedding blogs saying weddings would, even when we go back to normal, weddings will never be the same again. And I believed it. Like we all did at the time. You're like, bloody hell, what is going on? But yeah, I don't want to talk about COVID. Let's never talk about that again. So 2020 was a write-off for me. In my third year, I'd only ever done 1 full year of weddings. 2021 came along. Everything was going, once the restrictions were properly lifted, I think it was around July 2021 when you could have like a full wedding again. Everything was going well. I think I shot 30 weddings that year. And then 2022, because of the backlog of cancellations and replanned dates, I've done 50 weddings in that year. While we're at it, I don't need to do a full video on that. Don't do 50 weddings. It killed me. I was, by September, and I still had like 12 weddings left to shoot, I was burnt out. You don't want to be burnt out. You want to give 100 million% for every client you go to. Less is better. Less is better. Depending on the experience you've got, I understand that with your pricing, but you you try, from my advice, and I think most photographers would agree, don't go over 30 weddings because it's too much. It honestly is too much. You feel burnt out, you know, your creativity juices go, and you don't enjoy it as much. I'm going to be honest with you, you don't. And it only happened that once, and that was because of COVID. 2024, done 30 weddings. 2025, this year, I'm now doing 30 weddings again. So that's my sweet spot. I try and stick between 20 and 30 because, you know, I offer bespoke packages still, which is a good tip while we're there. You know, again, you can do what you want. Some photographers won't do it. I still offer bespoke packages. I like having little midweek weddings where I wouldn't be doing anything and someone only wants me for 3 hours coverage, and I'm like, lovely. You know, it's this job down the road to me. I can even walk to it. Some of them, like, you know, elopements. I live in Cornwall, so you get a lot of elopement weddings here. And I like that, you know, I like little small weddings where it's like 15 people or even 5 people. And a bit of pocket money, do you know what I mean? Right, so personally, I wouldn't turn that down, especially at the beginning of your career. I think try and offer as much as you can for people, as long as you're charging what you're worth. You know, don't just go, oh no, I only offer 10 hours coverage. If you don't want that, then piss off. You know, try and help people as much as you can at the beginning, and it does pay off. Like, there's probably things I did at the beginning where other photographers probably put their nose up at me. It helped me, you know, and I loved it. I was in this new world of coming away from corporate life, working in London my whole life and hating every second, getting to the point when I didn't even want to work anymore, you know, and I'm like, I'm only 25 years old, and I can't retire yet. So me jumping into the wedding industry, I felt it was a privilege, it was an honour. I felt very fortunate that I was doing it, because there's a lot of people that try and do it and fail. So again, hopefully you follow these tips on it and it'll help you. So yeah, I think that's it really. I'm established now. You know, I'm now charging $2,500. Maybe I need to go further up. I've had a few photographers, you know, who I'm friends with, and said, you know, I think you should be more than that, which is a massive compliment. And I'm scared, you know, to do that, you know. So maybe you can give some advice in the comments, you know, critique me if there's any professional photographers watching and they want to give me a bit of help. But private message me. Don't put it on the comment section, because it's embarrassing. If you're gonna critique me and be a bit negative, just talk to me, but, you know, one-to-one. Yeah, so I'm not perfect, you know. I'm still learning all the time. That's what life's all about, you know. It ain't just, you know, just wedding photography. I feel like since becoming a wedding photographer, you learn more about yourself because you're self-employed and it's just you. You've got to look after yourself. You've got to run your business. Everything's you. You're running the business. You're doing the work. You're doing the emails. You're doing everything. You know, you haven't got other team members to outsource that work. You might have, you know, if you might be very lucky to be in that position, but a lot of us, I would say, are not in that position. So yeah, I would say that was my key tips to becoming a full-time wedding photographer. I love my job. You know, with my style of photography, I'm not going to talk about style of photography because that you might be completely different to my style, but where I'm finishing on that though, I would say this is actually a massively important tip. Try your best at the beginning to know what style you want to be. I knew at the beginning I wanted to be a documentary wedding photographer. I've never changed. I personally wouldn't be doing wedding photography if I wasn't a documentary wedding photographer. The traditional stuff I've got no time for. It's not me. I'd be crap at it. I'd be absolutely shit at it if I was trying to direct people. It's not me. But that's not against that style. If you are watching this and you are into that style and you love that style and you're not doing it because you feel like you have to do that style, then crack on and do it. So hopefully these tips I've spoken about it can benefit any style of photographer. But while I'm on that bit, if you can, try your best at the beginning to know what style you want to be, and then you can really concentrate on that, do your research. I knew I wanted to be a documentary photographer, so I would be on YouTube studying photojournalism, not even wedding photographers a lot of the time. It was photojournalists, street photographers. Started following so many street photographers, watching them, how they approach, because I approach a wedding no different to how I approach when I do street photography. It's no different. Obviously there's a little bit different when I do couple time and things like that, but apart from that, you know, it's pretty much the same. If you know your style at the beginning, 100% start researching, practicing, You know, whatever style you are, I don't want to keep talking about my style. If you're traditional, formal, find friends and say, can you be my models, and go out with them, you know, do some styled shoots with them, you know, and they get some lovely pictures out of it with their family, with their dogs, you know, their children. They'll really appreciate it. They're not paying you any money, you know, and you can make mistakes then. You know, it doesn't matter if you make mistakes because no one's paying you, doing them a massive favour. You know, they're gonna get at least one photo out of it they love, and they'll put on their wall, and they'll be thankful for it. So you can keep practicing. And I can practice, luckily, because my style, I can just go out. I could walk out tomorrow and just walk around my town and just do street photography. And I do that just to practice and get better, make mistakes. I then know what mistakes I can learn from and not do that at a wedding. Yeah, if you can do that as early as possible, your career, it really helps you. And people can see that follow you from the beginning. They know that's a style you're passionate about, and they'll sing your praises. They'll be sharing it to everyone. Say, this man, you know, woman has been doing this from the beginning. This is a style he loves doing. He's passionate about it. Look at his work. You're then not chopping and changing. If you then launch your business and then a year later you're changing your style, and then a year later you're changing your style again, there's nothing wrong with that because you're finding your way. But people that follow you, they're going to be getting confused. Like brides that might be following you from the beginning, potential brides, but they're like, oh, I'm not even engaged yet, but when I do get engaged, I'm going to book Gary. But then a year later they go, oh, I did used to like his work, but he's changed a bit now. He's gone a bit cheesy for me, a bit posy. So try and be as real and honest to your approach right from day one. Forget the trends, forget the likes and comments on Facebook and Instagram. I'll do a separate video on that because it's a load of fucking bollocks. And if you start falling into that trap, I promise you that is when you probably will fail. You're not going to fail by making mistakes. We all have to make mistakes in life, but if you're just following trends to get popular, you know, because you're your number one photographer that you love and admire, which is nothing wrong with that. You're like, right, I'm going to copy that photographer because they're shooting weddings all over the world and charging and whatever they're charging and earning hundreds of thousands of pounds. You're going to fail. Like, be you from the beginning. It might take a bit longer, but I promise you in the long run, it will be much more beneficial for you. You know, it's going to sound so cheesy me saying this, but it's not a sprint, is it? It's a marathon. You want to be going forever. You know, I want to be doing what I'm doing now until the day I retire. But if you keep chopping and changing your style, people are going to get confused. Then they're going to be like, I don't know what this geezer's on about. Like, what is he doing? And they're going to see that you're clearly doing that just to follow trends and for likes and for comments and for people. You know, just don't follow trends. You know, that can be my last little tip. But I'll do a separate video on that, and I'll go through reasons why not to do that. But hope you enjoyed the video. I wish you all success in your photography career. Leave me a comment if you need any more tips, if I haven't given any tips, because I'm not an expert. I'm still learning. I've only launched my YouTube channel 6 months ago, and I'm only talking about what I did and what I did, and I think if you should do that or not do it. So there'll be things that I didn't even do, and you might want to comment and say, oh, I'm thinking of doing this, do you think it will help? I'll give my honest opinion from other photographers that I know, and maybe things that I went to do in the past and then I backed away from it because of A, B and C. I always want to help. My long-term goal is to do workshops in the future, and that could be 5 years away, you know. So me doing a YouTube channel, I'm not charging anyone because I'm not an expert. So it's a sort of the same as how I started my photography career. I wasn't a professional. I had no experience, so I charged very little. So hopefully I can spread the love on my YouTube channel. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you all again soon. See you later.